Hi, this is Andy Goddard, and I am interviewing Jim Landskroener, who's the director for the Prince opening season kickoff play, Arsenic and Old Lace. I'm doing this for the Spy. The Spy is on you.
Good morning, Andy. It's nice to be with you.
And I know we're in the middle of construction, so have you been rehearsing here or somewhere
No,
else?
actually, we were lucky enough to have a space available next door, right around the corner at Stamps Hall. Matt Hogan had given us permission to use what used to be the Masonic meeting room on the second floor of Stamps Hall.
Wow.
It's a big open space and hasn't been used for years. And it's perfect for rehearsals in that it's wide open. And in fact, we used it about 2 years ago when we were rehearsing for the 10-minute plays. We had so many rehearsals going on at the same time for the short plays. John Schratweiser, who was the executive director at the time, asked Matt if we could use that space, and he offered it to us.
So you were here and there.
We were here and there at the same time for the 10-minute plays. So this time we had, because of the construction, we asked him if we could use it, and he thankfully agreed. And we've been in there rehearsing now for about 3 weeks, and we're just about to finish up there. And once we get this construction finished, which I hope will be in a few days, we'll be in here to rehearse.
Back over here. And so you had said you actually taped off the stage design over there.
Yes, that's right. We have the stage floor here is a very unusual shape, and so we'd actually taped that off on the carpet upstairs in that meeting room a couple years ago. And much to my surprise, when we got in there about a month ago, the stage design was still there.
There it was.
So
They
there
knew
it
you
was.
were gonna come back.
That must have been it. Yes, yes. So and it's been really very helpful in those. The Hogans have been really nice to let us do that.
Thank God, because otherwise where would you be?
I know. Well,
Out
I
in
don't
the
know.
street.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know. We could have. I can't imagine we could have gone to the library and say, "Oh, by the way, can we use your meeting room
Yeah.
for 4 weeks every night?" But no, we would go. Yeah.
So I hear there are a couple of Washington College students who are going to be in the performance.
Yes, there are. We had when we made a call for auditions. I had contacted a few students that I knew at the college, and one of them came down to read and was just really perfect for the male lead in the play, who has to be a young man. And his name is John Lesser. He's a junior this year. And he's really funny and very talented, and we're really lucky to have him, especially because his schedule is pretty busy. He was actually in a production at the college that went up about 2 weeks ago.
Oh my.
So he had to finish that one and then start on ours
And go to school.
and go to school and work a couple of nights. So he's but he was just crazy enough to do it. So we're happy that he is.
And I was thinking, I think most everyone is somewhat familiar with Arsenic and Old Lace.
Yes.
I mean, it's been, as we said, on the stage, in the movies, but maybe we want to give a little bit of background on the characters.
Certainly, I think it might be that it kind of dates you because people of a certain age remember seeing Arsenic and Old Lace either in the movie or on stage. But I think if you're under the age of, say, 30, you may not know what the play is about.
That's true.
Unless you've seen it in a small production. Basically, the Arsenic and Old Lace centers around the Brewsters, two lovely old aunts who have raised 3 of their nephews in Brooklyn. And it turns out that the Brewster family has a little bit of insanity in its history. The oldest son, Jonathan, left under a cloud and has gone from state to state, country to country, eluding the law as he goes on these sort of psychopathic sprees. And he is accompanied by a Dr. Einstein, who is his friend, but also his plastic surgeon. Every time Jonathan has to leave a place under duress, he gets a new face. So when Jonathan returns to the home to hide out for a little while, of course the ants don't recognize him.
Oh no.
And they have to, and they go through this little bit about Jonathan trying to explain to them why it is that he looks so different. In fact, one of the great gags in the play, a recurring gag, is the fact that Jonathan now supposedly looks a lot like Boris Karloff. And the reason he looks like Boris Karloff is that Einstein had just been to the movies right before he had given Jonathan a new face. And he had seen the one movie that Karloff was in. And so the face kind of stuck in his mind, and he decided to give Jonathan that face. And it mentions in the play several times that he looks like Boris Karloff. Well, when they opened the play in New York, originally in 1941, Boris Karloff played that role. And so it must have been a real hoot to think that you have all these characters going, hey, you look like Boris Karloff. And of course, Jonathan gets there he is, and he's very upset that they think he looks like Boris Karloff. And so Jonathan comes back to the house, kind of makes things uncomfortable in terms of the plot. Mortimer, who is the middle son, is relatively normal. He's a theater critic, although he hates the theater, and he writes for the New York Times. And he doesn't live there, but he comes and visits his aunts quite often. His girlfriend Elaine is also part of there's a minor part for Elaine. But the youngest son, whose name is Teddy, believes that he is Teddy Roosevelt. And Teddy Roosevelt, or Teddy Brewster, spends the entire play assuming that he's Teddy Roosevelt. So he says bully a lot, and, charging up San Juan Hill and going to Panama to dig the canal and that sort of thing. If you haven't seen the play or don't know anything about it, I'm not going to give away the surprises because there's some really good surprises in it. So that's about all I'll say about the Brewsters. But there's also really an interesting cast of characters. There's the Reverend Harper who lives next door. We have a couple of cops coming in and out. We have the Mrs. Witherspoon, who is the superintendent of Happydale Sanitarium, who has come over because they've arranged for Teddy, when the aunts die, to go to Happydale so that they can take care of him. So it's all these very, very crazy people living out this very crazy story, and it's really very funny. In fact, the play says, they give you the scene, the aunt's house, Brooklyn, and they say the time is the present. Huh. And it could easily be the present.
So it is timeless.
It's very timeless. It really is. And aside from the fact that you can imagine the ants living in this old house dating from maybe the late 1800s in Brooklyn, and the house looks like that. It could be today as easily as 50 years ago. Yeah.
And I guess when the play starts, April 8th, is that when it is?
April 8th. We're running 2 weekends this time. We're going to run Friday, Saturday, Sunday, April 8th, 9, and 10. And then the following Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 15th, 16th, and 17th.
That's great.
Our Sunday shows are matinees at 2 o'clock, and our Friday, Saturday shows are 8 o'clock.
And you had said the lobby may not be quite ready by then, but...
Right. For those of you that don't know, the lobby is undergoing extensive renovation, and we had hoped to have the lobby in on almost finished state, so that when the patrons come, we could sort of show the place off and use the lobby. It may not be quite there, but it's not going to impede our, having people come into the theater and seeing the show. So it will all be as normal as possible.
Well, it'll be fun to watch the progress.
Most definitely, most definitely. I think just the regular patrons will really be, I think, knocked out by what's happening in front, even if it's not finished. Yeah.
And you had said that actually the fact that the theater was closed helped you with the set.
Yes, the set is rather elaborate, and the fact that there was going to be no one in here meant that we could come in and start working on the set several weeks ahead of time. Normally the theater's busy, and when you do a show, you rarely have more than about 2 weeks to get the set together. So this has not only given us a real edge in terms of time, but it's going to allow us to make it just the way we want it. And we really do have quite a transformation to accomplish to make it look like the interior of this little old lady's house. So it should be. I'm very grateful for the time because we wanted to make. We really wanted to be. The set really wants to be the showstopper.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine the whole thing will be a
Oh, it'll be a showstopper. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I think we're wrapping it up. This is for Arsenic and Old Lace.
Arsenic and Old Lace.
April
8, 9, and 10. And April 15, 16, and 17. Look for information about ticket sales in the newspaper. And we'll see you then, I hope.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.